What if I told you we could turn a simple, edible microbe into a tiny factory for making life-saving medicine? A factory that doesn't need any complex equipment, doesn't need to be refrigerated, and could get crucial treatments to the most remote corners of the globe? Well, that future, it might be a lot closer than you think, and it's all thanks to a superfood you've probably heard of, spirulina. But before we get into the solution, we've got to understand the problem. I mean, the real scale of the problem. Because this isn't just about a cool new drug. This is about finding a whole new way to fight some of the biggest health crises on the entire planet. And it all starts with a story like this. Just let this sink in. A 4-year-old girl, a book, in Darfur, weighing only 12 pounds. 12! Her story, which was shared by Dr. Floyd Chilton, is just this gut punch of a reminder of what severe malnutrition and disease actually look like on a human level. And the heartbreaking thing is, a book story is just one of millions. A full 10% of the 7.6 million deaths in children under 5 every single year are from diarrheal diseases. And one of the biggest culprits behind that is a nasty bacteria called Campylobacter, which just runs rampant in places without good nutrition or sanitation. So you might be thinking, wait, don't we have powerful modern medicines for this? We do. They're called biologics, but here's the catch. They were designed for a totally different world. They cost a fortune to make, they have to be purified with incredible precision, and, this is the big one, they rely on a constant cold chain. That means refrigeration from the factory to the truck to the clinic. For huge parts of the world, that's just not going to happen. Okay, so this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. The solution we're looking for wasn't found in some billion-dollar high-tech lab. Nope. It was found in a microbe that we've been farming as food for decades. Let's talk about spirulina. Yeah, that super green powder you see in health food stores. It's a type of cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, and we already know it's perfectly safe to eat. In fact, its protein content is absolutely off the charts, way higher than any other food crop. It's a nutritional beast. But its real potential, that was hiding inside its genetic code this whole time. And this is where the whole thing just clicks. Look at the difference. Traditional drugs need these massive, expensive fermentation tanks. Spirulina, it just needs sunlight and water. The old way requires costly purification. Spirulina, nope, not needed. The old way needs a cold chain. Spirulina is totally shelf-stable. Injections, nope, you can just eat it. It's like it goes down the list and just solves every single problem that's been holding us back. So the big question is, how in the world do you actually turn a superfood into a medicine factory? Well, the breakthrough was all about learning how to become a DNA programmer for this tiny microbe. So scientists can now basically act like coders for biology. First, they find the perfect spot in spirulina's DNA. Then, they use this really clever technique to slot in the genetic instructions for a specific therapeutic protein, say an antibody that can fight off that Campylobacter bacteria. And after that, you just let it grow. The spirulina does all the hard work, building that medicine right inside its own cells.
And get this, the process is unbelievably efficient. These medicines can make up to 15% of the spirulina's total dry weight. That's not some tiny trace amount. That is a massive yield, way beyond what you can get from other plant-based platforms. It's a protein-making machine.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds incredible in theory, almost too good to be true. But does this stuff actually, work? Well, researchers put it to the test, and the results are pretty amazing. The answer is a huge yes. Just look at these results from a study with mice. The ones that got the engineered spirulina were basically shielded from the Campylobacter infection. The amount of bacteria in their system dropped by 3 to 4 orders of magnitude. Now that's science speak for a reduction of 1,000 to even 10,000-fold. It didn't just knock back the infection, it pretty much stopped it in its tracks. But hold on a second. If you just eat this, wouldn't your stomach acid just obliterate the medicine? Well, this is where the real genius of the system comes in. The spirulina cell itself is like a natural, protective little pill, a concept they call bioencapsulation. So here's what happens if you take that therapeutic protein all by itself. When researchers exposed the purified protein to stuff that mimics stomach acid, it was completely destroyed. And not in an hour, in less than 2 minutes. Poof, gone. It just can't survive that journey alone.
But, and this is a huge but, when that same protein was tucked away safely inside the dried spirulina cell, Over 70% of it was still perfectly fine after 2 hours. The cell wall acts like this tiny armored vehicle, protecting its cargo through the stomach so it can be released in the intestine, right where it needs to go to fight the infection. It's brilliant. And this isn't just about mice anymore. They've done a phase 1 clinical trial in humans. And the bottom line is, it was safe, totally well tolerated, with no more side effects than you'd get from a sugar pill. And, critically, it did exactly what it was designed to do. The protein wasn't absorbed into the bloodstream. It stayed in the gut to do its job. So, let's zoom out here. What does all of this add up to? What does it mean for the future? Well, it points to a radically new way of thinking about how we make and deliver medicine to everyone, everywhere. I'm going to show you a number, and this might be the single most important one of all. 42 degrees Celsius. That's 107 degrees Fahrenheit. The dried spirulina powder keeps its medicinal punch for at least 6 months, even when it's stored at that temperature. This completely shatters the cold chain problem. It's a total game changer. So this is what it all boils down to. No more hugely expensive purification plants. No more refrigerated trucks and warehouses. No more painful needles. You're looking at a system that makes advanced medicine simple, incredibly stable, and cheap enough to be used anywhere on Earth, not just for treatment, but for prevention. So it leaves you with this kind of wild thought. For so many of the world's worst diseases, maybe the most advanced solution isn't the most complicated one. Maybe the future of medicine doesn't actually come from a factory at all. Maybe it's as simple and as revolutionary as growing algae in a pond.